Hi guys, this is Kris Marsh, consultant, coach, and author of the Personal Brand Playbook. And today I want to talk to you about removing barriers that are preventing you from reaching goals in your business, whether those are tangible goals or just psychological barriers that are preventing you from doing the things that you really want to do. So if you find that you always have excuses or reasons for why you're not able to achieve those things that you're trying to achieve every day, every week, every month, then stay tuned because this video is for you. The advice that I want to share with you today is about removing barriers that are preventing you from reaching your goals in business. And sometimes those barriers are pretty simple for us to remove, and sometimes they take a little bit more work, but they always are worth it in the end. And this is a strategy that I borrowed from a professional organizer that I worked with a couple of years ago who came into our home and just helped us get a handle on all of our stuff. And that strategy was to remove barriers. And in the case of organizing physical things, the point was that you need to remove any barriers that will prevent you from putting things back in the place where they belong. So it's as simple as don't put a top on that box if it's going to prevent you from putting the thing that belongs in that box away when you're done with it. Leave the top off and you're more likely to put the stuff back in. But I found that it really does apply every day to business. So in my case, a goal that I've had for a year is to create video content so I could share with you thoughts and ideas that I had or answers to questions that I was receiving from clients when I was thinking of them and they were top of mind. But my barrier was that I didn't have a good place to be able to sit down and easily do that. So I always had a really good intention that I was going to find the time to set up a place that made sense and make it look okay and share that content with you. So I finally decided to get real. And this weekend, I just set up a little place in my office. I purchased an inexpensive photography backdrop stand, which are just two tall tripods that are behind me with a curtain rod going through the middle. I purchased some curtains that look nice and just set up a little area in my office that could be left, set it and forget it. When I have some ideas to share, I can just sit down and I can talk them through with you. So that was a pretty easy barrier for me to remove, but it made it easy for me to sit down and share this information with you today. Some of the other barriers will take a little bit more time, but they'll still be worth it in the end. So another client that I'm working with is a family-owned business, and they were feeling frustrated because the work that they do for each one of their customers is custom work. And they were finding that mistakes were being made on jobs simply because their team was not taking the time to review all of the details that were provided to them in a job specification book that was created for each one of these customer projects. So again, the challenge became, how do we remove whatever barrier is in place, whether it's a real barrier or it's a psychological barrier that's preventing that team from using the information that's in that job book. And so we went through a process of pulling out the books, opening them up, and just putting ourselves in the shoes of the team and imagining what the process would be like of going through all of the papers and pulling sheets out and unfolding them and the things that needed to happen for them to be able to have the information that they needed. In that case, we found that we were able to restructure those job books by creating some checklists and some templates and things that were really, really easy that would allow the team to open up the book and just at a glance at their fingertips, they have all of the information that they need without having to unfold and open and pull out of pockets and some of these other things they were having to do. So that removed a really key barrier for their team. And look, There may be some barriers that you need to remove for other people, and you feel really strongly that you shouldn't have to. But the point is, if they are creating barriers to getting work done effectively, either for yourself or for your team or for your customers, then that's something that you need to take seriously, and you need to work on removing that barrier. Now, here's another common barrier that I see that's related to getting your customers to follow through the buying cycle. You want that buying process to be as absolutely easy as possible. And I get it. We want to pre-qualify leads as much as we can so that we're not wasting time chasing down what we think might be opportunities only to learn that they are not. But we have to allow our customers to go through the process of that buying cycle and get there with us. So let me give you a specific example of something that I found recently. There was a free webinar that was being offered that looked really interesting to me, and I don't even recall what the topic was, but I remember thinking, I'm an entrepreneur. I seem to be in the space that they're talking about, that they're offering content for, and so I wanted to register for this webinar. When I clicked on the registration link, I found that it actually was not so simple as putting in your email address, which it typically would be when you're signing up for a free webinar, but that in fact, they had a complete contact form that they were requiring you to complete before you could register for the webinar. And that contact form was asking for some pretty sensitive information. And one piece of information in particular that I was not comfortable providing was what your current annual income is. Now, again, I understand that their intent probably was to pre-qualify the people that were coming into that webinar, because the entrepreneurs that they have an offer for are people who have already reached a six-figure level of income. However, even for those entrepreneurs that are in that space earning that amount of money, if you're asking them for that sensitive information to register for a free webinar, which is often the very first step in generating a lead in your buying cycle, it's kind of the equivalent of asking someone to marry you on a first date, and it's not very likely that it's going to happen. So you're not going to convert as many people. Now, another strategy that they could have considered would be to create language on that landing page for the registration that lets people know that they offer solutions for entrepreneurs who are currently earning six figures or more. And that's a really easy way for people to weed themselves out, land there, see that information, back out and say, this isn't for me. However, for the entrepreneurs that are in that space of earning six figures or more, they're going to understand that webinar is for them. They're likely to click through, provide the email address, and register for the webinar. They're not likely to click through and then provide you with what their income level is the first time that they have contact with you. So a lot of different ways to remove barriers that are either really tangibly or psychologically preventing you, your team, or your customers from following through. So I encourage you to think about what those barriers are for you. What's one goal that you've had and there's something holding you back? That's your barrier, and then give some thought to how you can remove it. I've also created for you a worksheet that's going to help you think through a goal that you have and what those barriers are that are holding you back, and then to brainstorm ways that you can remove that barrier. So that worksheet is available below. Just click the link, download the worksheet, and work on getting those barriers removed.